it will work. So if you were there, just hang tight for a minute and we'll see we'll see what happens. Okay, hopefully that worked. So maybe some of you guys can see and hear me now. If you guys could go ahead and drop a thing in the chat box. Okay, Dale, it did work. You can see me now. Excellent. Jessica, welcome to the broadcast. Appreciate you guys being here. We're having a little technical difficulties behind the scenes here. Ed, welcome, welcome. Thanks again for being here. Okay, so maybe I am live. I don't know which broadcast. Okay, I can see myself over here. So there we should be good. Okay, so today we're going to be, or well, first of all, make sure you hit that share button. If you guys are not over here on Haps, make sure you come over to haps.tv/invite/ at Vicky Fitch, VICKIFITCH. If you are over here on Haps, I thank you very much. Make sure that you are generous with those free coins they give you every day for logging into the broadcast, and hit the share button and make sure that you share out to the other social platforms. Because if you have been wanting to have an additional voice out here to talk about things, maybe exposing things, and so we're not afraid to talk about them, this is a great place to do that and make sure everybody feels stress free. Like, right? I'll take all the stress. Thanks for being here, Ed, Dale. It's great to see you. Chris, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being here. All right, so yeah, I told you yesterday we were going to expand on the topic that we started last week about, should we muscle our military? Now they're considering mandating vaccines for the COVID-19 test onto our military men. Now, over a third of them have refused to take the vaccine. Put a one in the chat box if you knew that. We talked about it last week, but again, over a third of them have. And so I wanted to dig a little deeper. I mean, I know some of the reasons that they have. First of all, there's been some political swaying back and forth. The Democrats were insisting that they were not going to take the vaccine if Donald Trump had anything to do with it, and of course that view changed. But they were creating dissension among the ranks of the military, as well as the rank and file, and as well as the people of America, because they started creating doubts. And so when you start creating doubts, you can't wonder all of a sudden why people are responding to the doubt that you created. Melanie, welcome to the broadcast. Facebook user Ed, welcome, welcome. And somebody else put a one in there too. For some reason on Facebook, many of you have to put your name next to the comment. I don't know why. Dale says not seeing or hearing anything. Okay, can you? Oh, okay. Just now? Did you guys, the rest of you guys can see and hear me, or am I like going like am I disappearing? I don't know what's happening. Like I said, I had trouble back here. I had to restart it 3 times and then it still only went live on Haps and I redid it again. So hopefully there you are. I had to refresh. Oh, okay. So you guys are having to refresh too. So I'm thinking it's something on in Haps that's causing a little glitcheroony, but hopefully you guys can catch the replay. And if you guys are watching the replay, hit hashtag replay there, tag me in it so I can make sure to respond to any of your comments. All right. So again, when we create, if we, as leaders, if we create dissension among our team, and let's face it, if you're in charge of the United States of America, the American people are part of your team, right? You have your leaders, which is your military and the other political, forces that are around. But the American people are part of the team. And if you want the team to do something without forcing them to do something, then you need to be proactive in explaining and telling people what's going on, and they need to trust you. Well, when you start creating division in between the leadership the existing leadership and the potentially incoming leadership, you're doing this to yourself. So I want to take this from 2 angles. One, the dissension that was already created there. 2, there are people that are seeing facts, asking questions and saying, hey, this is not for me. There in California here, we just had another person die after the second. This one was the Moderna, not the Johnson and Johnson. She just died from getting the second shot. I think she was 29. So that's not typical. The 29-year-olds are dying just randomly, right? And we know that there are a lot of statistics that are showing people are getting sick, having illnesses, Bell's palsy. There's a lot of things that are coming from this. And it's not a vaccine. We have to continue to remember that it is an experimental. FDA has not approved it. It's only got experimental emergency use authorization, which is where what the military currently is using as the guideline, saying, no, we cannot do that. We are not going to practice on our military anymore. And so I want to know, I'm going to read your comments really quick, and I want to know if any of you guys know what the Tuskegee experiment was. Let me know if you know what that is. Let's see. High five award. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate that. And again, anybody else that feels like throwing up some high fives, I certainly appreciate that. Chris, thank you. Sorry, guys. Need to know how to protect my son from the vax 23-year-old California Army National Guard member. Well, and Facebook user, who is that? Who is that just said that? Let me know. No one is right now in charge of the great USA. Dale, I can't completely disagree with you at all, unfortunately. Need to know how to protect him. Okay, and who are you that needs to protect your 23-year-old from the vax? Oh, hey, Holly, welcome to the broadcast. Appreciate you being here. Ed, oh, that's you, Ed. Okay. All right. So and I don't know how long the delay is. I'm wondering if you guys do know what the Tuskegee experiment was. Put a 2 in the chat box if you know what it is, and a 3 if you do not. Okay, TR Fun Guy in the house. Welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being here. So the Tuskegee experiment, just so you guys know, and I didn't know much about it myself, I'll be honest. It's funny how, again, why one of the reasons I like to journal what's happening in modern day history is so I have an account for myself. I never learned about the Tuskegee experiment when I was in school. And I understand why I didn't learn about it, because who would want this to come to light? I mean, I'm actually mortified by it. I'm absolutely mortified, and understand this is the reason why some people are not wanting it, even though this, unfortunately, and again, it's despicable. This is honestly despicable. Absolutely despicable. It was something, and I'm going to pull up so I don't get the dates wrong for you guys, but it was a study that was done by the CDC. Well, they weren't called the CDC back then, but or let me see if they were. I don't think they were called the CDC. Hold on a second. I want to get this information right, but I will tell you what's kind of funny really quick is that, and I will drop a link for any of you guys that are here on HAPS. You guys, I'm going to drop the link in here for you, so you have access to the link. Your son, thank you, Ed. That I'm going to drop this in here for you. Now, don't go looking at it right now. Let's talk about this, but you can come back into the broadcast and you'll have links to some of the stuff that we're talking about. If you're not on HAPS, you can come here later and, like I said, sign up for your free account. Doesn't cost you anything. They even give you free coins that you can pass out. But it's haps.tv/invite/@Vicki Fitch. Okay. Hey, Jean, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being here. So anyway, so the Tuskegee study, it was despicable. It really was. It was about syphilis, right? And then they were starting to do studies about syphilis. But to make a long story short, what transpired, and by the way, the CDC has on its own website, they're fact checking their own themselves. The CDC has a thing that says this page is currently under review by CDC to ensure the content is accurate and verifiable, but it's on their website. So it's literally on cdc.gov/Tuskegee/timeline/.htm. And they have a big blue warning that they are not sure it's accurate. So that just right there says, what? I mean, what do you mean you don't know if your own information is accurate? If you don't even have confidence in the own information that you guys are putting up, then how are we supposed to have confidence in you, right? And Jean, thank you so much for the super hard award. I really appreciate that. So what they did was a study, and the whole thing, it's despicable no matter who was involved, but this particular one did happen to be about African American men. And the study was about let me give you the title. Like I said, I don't want to mess this up because I don't want anybody telling me. It was about it was ended up being a 40-year study. This is just so horrific. I don't even know what to say. And they didn't tell the men that they had it, and they didn't treat them. They didn't tell their wives, so their wives got it and they didn't treat them. And their children. I mean, this is the most disgusting thing I've honestly seen. I'm sure there's more disgusting, but we need to highlight something that happened in the past, which is, it's in an article by military.com. identifying that's one of the reasons that some of these servicemen, because over a third of them have refused the vaccine, and they cited this as being one of the reasons. So some of these people have apparently, been saying, no, we know what happened there, and this is not something we're going to do. So as you look through this, like I said, they started a study to record the natural history of syphilis in hopes of justifying treatment programs for Blacks. It was called the Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male. Okay, so I get that science requires sometimes for us to do things, right? But when we do those things, we know, like when you do trials for cancer trials and you don't know if the treatment's going to work, right? I think Mr. T signed an executive order that allowed, it's called the right to try. And so you're allowed to try experimental drugs, but before they get to be that experimental drug stage, they do trials, right? And those trials, but you're part of a trial. You don't know if you're getting the medicine or you're getting a placebo, but at least you know, and it's your choice to do this. These men did not know. And they knew they were getting treated, which they were getting treated because they were seeing the doctor and they were covering their expenses. And I believe they bought them a meal or meals. I'm trying to, like I said, I started looking at this about a half an hour before the show, and I got so involved in it. I was so sad. I mean, I am sad right now to think that our own, and I don't want to say government, right? Even though it is, so just give me a minute, right? I don't want to say government because in my mind I try to keep the hierarchy of the presidency and the branches of government in a separate category. Even though it is still the responsibility of our government, it's so outrageous, right? So I want to tell you a little bit more about it because I want you to understand this. And if you heard this and you were in the military, even though we don't think this is going to happen, right? I can tell you the guy that actually was the whistleblower. His name was Peter Buxton. He even said specifically that he was hired to interview the people. In the course of his duties, he learned about this experiment. And he later said, in quote, "I don't want to believe it. This was the Public Health Service. We didn't do things like that." And in November of 1966, he filed an official protest on ethical grounds with the service's Division of Venereal Diseases. And then it was rejected on the grounds that the experiment was not yet complete. He filed another protest in November of 1968, 7 months after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., pointing out the political volatility of the study. Again, his concerns were ruled irrelevant. The story goes on, but I just have to ask, and I got to come back over here because I was reading that. Does that disturb any of you? Does that disturb you? Put a 4 in the chat box if it disturbs you, because I got to tell you, that is so disturbing to me, and it honestly reminds me of some of the stuff that's going on right now. Some of this clandestine, behind the scenes BS that's happening. People are not talking about what happened with the things people have been exposed of, but the mainstream media is suppressing it, and it's not being delivered. So I can't believe I'm just finding out about this, right? I'm sure there's a million more things that are just as despicable and disgusting, but we don't hear about it, right? But yet here's a whistleblower that went to the trouble to make sure this got out, and then the government ended up settling a $10 million lawsuit with these people. I'm not sure that really made them, that it certainly doesn't make up for it. And they didn't tell the wives. So the men passed on syphilis to the wives. And if I remember correctly, syphilis ends up making you kind of go insane. It starts to eat away at your brain. And it's something that's easily treatable. And so even though they were going through this, the study, if I remember, was only supposed to be 6 months long. If I'm looking really quick, they told them it was research for what they called bad blood. It was a local term to describe several ailments, including syphilis, anemia, and fatigue. But none of them received the proper treatment needed to cure the illness. In exchange for taking part in the study, the men received free medical exams, free meals, and burial insurance. Although it was projected to last 6 months, the study went on for 40 years. 40 years. They allowed these men to go on with syphilis and passing it on to other partners. I mean, it's just absolutely astounding. But it's the public outcry. So here it says what went wrong. In July of 1972, an Associated Press story about the Tuskegee study caused a public outcry, which is exactly what should be happening now if our media was reporting some of the things that are going on, right? He reported it, the public outcry that led to the Assistant Secretary for Health and Scientific Affairs to appoint an ad hoc advisory panel to review the study. The panel had 9 members from law, medicine, religion, labor, blah, 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 etc. And they found the men had agreed freely to be examined and treated, but there was no evidence that researchers had ever informed them of the study or its real purpose. In fact, the men had been misled and had not been given all the facts required to provide informed consent. And so then there was reparations. That now I have to tell you, I'm not in fan. I think the reparations that are slated in this ridiculous, infrastructure bill that's got so little infrastructure that the whole infrastructure would cave in. But this had reparations. That deserves reparations. That is something that our existing government knew about. They continued, and again, it's a division, but they continued to allow it for 40 years, allowed the men and the women and their children. This is just so outrageous. And so they did, so nice of them. They did extend care out to the wives. It was originally just paying for care for them, but they extended the program. Let's see, the $10 million out of court settlement was reached. The US government, this was in 1974. Guys, that's not that long ago, right? I mean, it's not that long ago. I was alive in 1974. And so I was a kid, but this is just so outrageous, right? The government promised to give lifetime medical benefits and burial services to all living participants of the program, right? Then in 1975, a year later, widows and wives and offspring were added to the program, which they should have been. In 95, so that's 85, 20 years later, the program was expanded to include health and as well as medical benefits. On May 16th, President Clinton, this is the only good thing I can think about Clinton right this particular moment, he apologized on behalf of the nation, and we should. That is outrageous. It's outrageous. So it continued to go on, and they said that the last widow receiving these benefits died on January 27th of 2009. And I believe that there are some children that are still on this program. But now I'm going to go read your comments, I promise. But that is outrageous. And that is something that we have to remind ourselves, right? That we must step up, stand out, and speak. It is we need to stop being silent when we know something is wrong, even if people ignore us. This poor man had them ignore him 3 times, but he refused to give up, even as a whistleblower, because what was happening was wrong. And that's where our integrity kicks in. And when we have integrity, then we can make changes and things can change. But when we don't have integrity, or we're allowing, the political wind to sway us wherever people want us, then who are we, right? We have to, again, step up, stand out, and speak. Are we going to allow people to muscle our military and force them to get this vaccine or this vaccine? Because again, it's not a vaccine. It's not a preventative. It's something that might help you get it less serious. So let me go over here and look really quick. My son will probably take, if forced to, many of our service members will. What's their option? Court martial. Very concerned about reproductive health. Help. Ed, I absolutely agree with you on that one. And I think that's why there's a website that I often refer to that I get put in the schnitzel box for. It's not the one with my middle name and my computer. That's a Dell computer.tv. It's not that one. It's the one about the medical benefits and stop medical blah blah blah. So maybe we'll add some other words in there. Has some information there also about the colleges, about keeping kids from having to take this to get back to college, because again, this is under emergency use. It's not even it's not safe yet. I mean, we know that people are dying and people are having side effects. It's not something that anybody should be required. It's wrong. If they can get away with the Tuskegee and the other disgusting unknown resting on humans, what's next? TR fungi. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's when I read that, if I was in the military, I mean, again, And then if I was a black man in the military, I don't believe that the current climate is trying to segregate by like being racist, right? Back then, we weren't there, so I'm not going to say it was racist. There is a legitimate difference. Apparently, I know that there is higher rates of certain diseases and stuff in African Americans than there is in whites and Asians, et cetera, et cetera. So I do know that there are studies that are based on your race, and they know that certain markers are higher in other things. So I don't want to say this was racially motivated, because they were trying to find out, and just hear me out. Don't think I'm trying to be a Pollyanna, that they were trying to find out how to help the African American, and yet they used him as guinea pigs, and that is it's beyond wrong. Do they all, so was it truly racist? I don't know. Was it absolutely careless and ridiculous? Absolutely. Just like they've done the same thing. And the way I say it's not necessarily about race, it seems like it can be based on your ability to contribute to society as well. We know that there have been history of people trying to, get rid of or euthanize or move out people that have, disabilities, right? Whether they have, um, whether they have something as simple as Asperger's, or they have autism, or they have other things that, dwarfism, different things during different times, people have been trying to remove those. Those would be the weakest links, right? And they discard them. They don't consider them valuable and important. And so I'm not going to identify that this was race, that it was based on race, but it's outrageous no matter what the reason. It's completely outrageous, and we cannot allow that stuff to happen, and we should never force our military into getting something into their body. And as Ed, what you had said, if they require that, then they need to allow those whoever's there to retire, to remove themselves without a court martial, without any repercussions. And if they were about to, have their 20 years or something, or they're wherever they're at, they should get the benefits for those. We can't force people to do this, especially, and when what we're trying to do is really virtue signal and tell people this is what you need to do, because it's not okay. It is not okay. And that, like I said, this Tuskegee thing, just I'm still sick to my stomach over it. It's horrible. Um, and Ed, you're right. Most young people, right, will end up taking it. The older people that have been there a little bit longer might be a little more apt to question authority and say, "Wait, why do I have to take this?" I do know that there's a huge complement of military people that aren't enamored with EO Joe's presidency, and therefore are feeling a bit rebellious there. But when you start adding all these things together, it would be an absolute travesty to try and force these people to do it. It's just so wrong on so many levels. Let's see, somebody's comment was hidden. Let's see that I'm going to read it. The Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. Oh, because you used the word, because I know it's the title, but that's why they did it. Was an observational study of them in Alabama between 1932 and 1972, right? And again, I think, did I drop the link in here for that for you guys? I think I did. Did I? Tell me which one I did, because I have 3 articles here that I can drop in here for you. The U.S. Public Health Service ran this study on more than 300 people. Yes. Actually, yeah, it was a total of 399. No, it was 600 people. So here's the thing. It was run on 600 black men, 399 with syphilis, 201 who did not have the disease, right? So the 201 that didn't have the disease, if they were getting this placebo, it didn't matter. It's the 399 that it mattered, right? It was conducted without their informed consent. And again, it's just horrible. I remember when the news would tell you the truth, unlike the fake news of today. Exactly. The news used to tell us the truth. Tessie, welcome to the broadcast. They would tell us the truth, and then we got to make our decisions, right? There was actual journalistic reporting that was unbiased. And now I don't know how to find it. I mean, even in the unbiased reporting, I think that they're so tired of the lies the other side is telling. I feel like they're even getting biased, even though they're at least doing all the digging. They're doing the digging, but I still feel like they're just frustrated, right? Sergeant Margaret Sanger, awesome. Is your daughter Ed? I thought you said it was your son, or is your son's name Margaret? Or am I confused? Help me here and help me if I mess something up. Dale said 40 years is 6 months in Democrat time. Where's your head, young lady? That's funny. Let's see, 47 years ago. Hi, James. Welcome to the broadcast. 1975 was a great year, right? I think it was a good year. Musical art, yes, One Love Award. Thanks, Tessie. Appreciate that so much. Not when we get a real commander in chief. Go into the deck. There you go, Dale. Definitely look on the deck. Okay, so we're talking about this because it's important. If you guys haven't hit the share button, please hit the share button. Share it out to some social channels. I know this can be a touchy topic, but don't you think people need to know? I mean, again, I didn't know about this Tuskegee thing. And as a matter of fact, I was reading a different article and it didn't link to Tuskegee, but it just kind of mentioned it really. And I was like, I wonder what that is. And ran, jumped over, add another tab. And then I was like, what? And then so I started reading more to make sure that I wasn't getting this biased perspective. And then, of course, the CDC has it on their own website. But so we have to look at this stuff and start sharing it out and start being a little bit bolder and stop being afraid of being, the whistleblower. And so I'm going to tie this into a conversation that we had yesterday as well. That we talked about the college, right? We were talking about the college. Well, I say yesterday, but it was actually Friday, right? Was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. So we had discussed the Chaffey College. We discussed what was happening with this young man, right? Or was it? Yeah, it was that one. Okay. So anyway, that I don't know if you guys saw my update in the Step Up, Stand Out, and Speak section that on Facebook. Which, by the way, Mel, I know you said you couldn't see it before. I went and I know I've noticed no one's been commenting on any of the content, so I changed it to public and then shared it out on my profile. So hopefully you guys will be able to find it because I know they're trying to suppress that information because I have all these articles that remind us that we need to step up, stand out, and speak in that section there. So he ended up coming, he was on Sean Hannity, had the young man that was bullied by his teacher. If you guys didn't see that one about Cypress College, he was being bullied because he did a report that said that he thought Paw Patrol, right, should be okay for people to do and are okay to represent police, and that he did think police were mostly heroes, even though some make bad mistakes. And she just kind of ripped into him. If you guys didn't see, I played that article on the show. You can catch the replay or go to the Step Up, Stand Out, and Speak on Facebook, and you can see the link there. Well, he was on Sean Hannity coming back, so and talking about it, and it turns out she's now on administrative leave. So I'm glad to hear that. I'm certainly hope that they take some action against her because kids are starting to feel like they don't have a choice on what they have to report on or how they have to report, otherwise their grades are going to suffer. And it's kind of like what we're talking about with the military and this vaccine. Is there going to be disciplinary measures? Are they going to get in trouble? People shouldn't be afraid to ask good questions, and people shouldn't be afraid to have their own opinions. In the military, you can have your own opinion. Of course, you're supposed to carry out orders, but that doesn't have to do with injecting yourself with experimental things. We know what happens on Marvel Comics when they injected you with their experimental things. Some of those went right, and some of them went pretty wrong, like Red Skulls. Those are some pretty ugly things we got there. Let's see. Mr. T talked about it in some of his rise. He did. He talked about Tuskegee, or he talked about something else. Dale, help me out. I will check after the broadcast. Thank you, Mel. Mr. T is starting to text again. Is on which platform? Are you guys on Frank Speech? Are you on Frank Speak? Let me know. Update on her. She was put on leave and they won't let her come back. This was her first class as a teacher. Good Lord. See, this is what I'm talking about. At least someone said something, at least that got noted. And because again, that's what our colleges seem to be feeding out into the public, right? They are feeding these kids and people information and trying to turn them into robots and not think for themselves, not ask good questions, and not say, yeah, I don't think police officers are bad, and I don't think our country is systemically racist. And she wasn't asking, as you know, she wasn't really asking questions. She was just criticizing him. Text messages. Oh, really, man? I haven't gotten any. So I think I'm on there. But this is important stuff that we have to see what's happening, and we have to put a stop to it. And that's why knowing that there are other people in the world, right? That you guys are, maybe many of you have a conservative perspective. Some of you don't, and I know that you're here to hear what I have to say, and you send me private messages saying you disagree. Feel free to disagree with me publicly as well. I'm not, as you know, I've had other people that disagree. I'm not going to chastise you. It's you're welcome to have your own opinion, but I will ask some thoughtful questions, and you are welcome to ask thoughtful questions of me. We should all expect that of each other. Yes, Tuskegee. I did not know that. Well, even if this is where things go, right? If we don't know what something is, it will go right over our head. If somebody says Tuskegee and you have no idea what it is, you might think it's a city or a person or a friend or a new clothing brand. Who knows? It's only once you're aware of something that you hear it and then it has meaning. And that's why we have to continue get things out. I mean, another example of that is, look what happens when something happens and a police officer involves shooting and someone dies, right? When it happens to be African Americans, a white cop shooting a black person, everybody can chant their names. They've got them up. They're all over the place, and they're memorializing people. That's not the way things are supposed to be. We're supposed to make change for the good. We're supposed to adjust things and make sure that if bad things are happening, that those things change. And if good things are happening, we support the people are trying. And I say good things, meaning people are doing their very best. They're doing their best. They followed their protocols, and unfortunate circumstances arose, like what happened in the Makia Bryant situation. And we talked about that last week too. And then LeBron James and his ridiculous gibberish of not knowing what's happening, and instead of apologizing, he doubles down on his nonsense. And I mean, it's just, like I said, it gets crazy. It's getting crazy. The world is getting a little bit crazy. All right. So we talked about, we're talking about the military. We're talked about Tuskegee and what happened there. We're talking about whether or not those guys should be mandated. And I wonder, what is your opinion? I mean, we can look at both sides. We can play devil's advocate. If one guy gets COVID and they're shipped off into, a war zone, and our entire army gets COVID, and, they're really struggling, obviously it can be a problem. But requiring them to get the vaccine, well, before it's an actual vaccine, is is kind of like, I don't want to say a mini Tuskegee, but it's taking chances with our military that isn't fair. It's not right, and mandating it puts them in a position of having to either defy orders, or or be in trouble, or be looked down upon other people. And it shouldn't do that. We should never have require people to be an experiment. Don't you guys agree? Put a 5 in the chat box if you agree. We should never require someone to be an experiment. If you know you're an experiment, you're getting paid for it, or you're making the choice, or your health, like special cancer treatments or those things, and you make that choice, that's one thing. But requiring people to be an experiment is a whole nother thing. It kind of, reminds me of Frankenstein, right? We need to make sure that people have the right to choose. I mean, the left is very, 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 very vocal about the right to choose, my body, my choice. And yet they don't seem to think this is the same thing. You're sticking an experimental thing that has actually killed many people. I'm not millions, not most, but it's killed many people, and it's certainly had damaging side effects. Some of them, I don't know if you guys have seen some of those rashes that people come up with, and they don't know if they're ever going to go away or what's happening. But they are, this is a big deal. And we've got to put this in perspective and say, wait a minute, my body, I mean, again, for me, life is life. And I get your body, your choice, totally get that concept. but it's still another life. So we don't want to get into the battle of of when life starts, right? I believe it starts at conception, but we don't want to get into that battle yet. But what we do want to say is specify, I guess, the hypocrisy that's going on when it's okay when you say my body, my choice when you're murdering someone. And I know that's horrible because I do know people have gotten abortions and I don't think of them as murderers. I really don't. And I don't judge them. I don't judge them. I can only imagine some of the situations people are in. So please, I'm not judging. But we are killing an innocent life. And as difficult as that is, it's still true. The baby's alive. The baby isn't alive when they're finished. And so if why is it that they're taking something, because remember, when you're already pregnant, you know how you got pregnant. People didn't artificially inseminate you, right? You know how you got pregnant. And so the baby, if you have the baby, most times, right? I'm going to say 99% of the time because most pregnancies do not end in death of the mother, right? So traditionally, you can have the baby, give it up for adoption, whatever. And I'm not trivializing. What I'm trying to do is say that the situation, the baby having that baby is typically not going to cause you those adverse effects. Yes, you might have some stretch marks. Yes, it might be difficult. I know I threw up, morning, noon, and night during my pregnancy. It was pregnancies. It was horrific, but I made that choice. But the long-term effects, I didn't end up with Bell's palsy. I didn't end up, dying. I didn't end up with blood clots. So I you know what I mean? So the general part, are you guys getting this? I know I'm not articulating it very well, but the point is having a baby is a natural body function, and therefore most people can go through that process and, like I said, give the baby up for adoption without destroying their own body and killing themselves. Yet with the vaccine or this experimental dosage that they're doing, it can do all those things. It can, strip girls of their reproductive systems. That was in that article that I was talking to you guys about colleges and how the college that same place, Ed, is doing stuff for military, trying to preface that military does not have to get it as well. So you might want to check out that website. There's some forums for colleges and stuff on there, but I saw an interview with Charlie Kirk and Simone Gold that said that they were working on some of those things as well. So just knowing that when we start in one place, we can continue on expanding that because it's still people's rights. So hopefully, can you guys put a 6 in the chat box if that made sense? Put a 7 if it didn't, but a 6 if it did. What I'm trying to say is one thing is an injection that's not normal. The other thing is the baby's already there, right? The injection already did its work and created the life. So, hopefully you guys get what I'm saying. When you look at my list of 52 pinballs in play, it really makes you go, wow. You know what? And Dale, that's why tomorrow's topic right now, unless something huge comes up, is called Pinball Wizard. And we're going to be talking about the pinballs that the left continues to put in. Every time we start talking about one, there's another pinball that goes up. And there's so many going that we've talked about before. And Dale did a great service to me and sent me a list of the pinballs that are currently in the air. I'm going to look at it, maybe add some of my own, but we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Let's see. I feel like it's a serious invasion of privacy. I do too, Jessica. I feel like it's a complete invasion of privacy. It's not okay. It's beyond not okay, especially when we have something to preface it with, because people can discount, oh, just get it. Most people are okay. Just, stop complaining, stop whining. But then we look at the Tuskegee experiment and we go, wait, what the what? It is an invasion of your privacy and it shouldn't be allowed. And I know I will continue to step up, stand out, and speak about it. I know other people will. We have to stop being silent, and that's all of us. If you think it's okay, maybe put yourself in that predicament and say, yeah, I don't care if people force, an experimental process on me. If you don't care then maybe you should still think about how that might affect other people, but you're welcome to your own opinion. Please message me the name of the website. Ed, which one, Ed? Oh, that one. Yeah, okay. Remind me afterwards. Thank you, Jessica. Yes, it's made more sense than any sentence of Biden. Well, that's not saying a whole lot, but thank you so much. 99% of people recover on their own. Exactly, Melanie. And that's really the important part, is that we're finding that people have had it that didn't even know they had it. And a friend of mine, many of you guys know Wes Schaefer. He goes by the Sales Whisperer. Wes has his entire family got COVID. They're all fine. And it's been 8 months and they all still have antibodies. So these people saying, oh, yeah, they want him to get the vaccine. He's like, why do I need the vaccine? I already have the antibodies. If I have the antibodies, why would I want the vaccine? And yet they're continuing this vaccine passport. Why would people who already are immune need a vaccine passport? And then why are they telling us right now that we might have to do a third dose? And now we might have to do booster shots every a year. And, because like the flu shot is not a vaccine either. It's a shot. It's a shot trying to help things. Did we just create a trillion, probably a multi-trillion dollar industry with this COVID thing? I mean, because that's the way it's sounding. I mean, it sounds like these things are going to go on and on and on and on and on forever. And, that's pretty crazy. Let's see. Frankspeech.com is really getting good. The more you add to it, I'm on there, but I haven't done any stuff on there yet. Yeah, it really freaks you out, Jessica. It should freak you out. And again, I think continue. I'll send that other link out to your dad, and just let me know, because you're with Ed, correct? Yes, no. Let me know if I'm confused there, because maybe I got confused because there's a lot of comments going through as they add more to it. Did you see EO Joe at the elementary school today? Did you hear the statement about the children? I did not, Ed, to fill me in, but I did want to add a couple of things on. First of all, this, I think I told you this already, but or I told you about the girl that died, and that what's going on with the colleges and stuff. And we have to look at this thing right here, that it says the problem is not people being uneducated. The problem is that they are educated just enough to believe what they've been taught, and not educated enough to question what they've been taught. That's where this comes together, right? Where we're talking about this teacher, what she did, and that us as people, that we need to be able to ask questions. We need to be able to ask our government, why are we taking this? Why we need to be able to ask the CDC and flopping Fauci, why are you wanting to double mask? Why do people that have already been vaccinated have to double mask outside while they're, jogging? I don't know if you saw that Dan Bongino thing. The woman was bragging about the fact that she's already fully vaccinated and she was out jogging alone wearing 2 masks. And I just think, what is wrong with people? What is wrong with us that we can't see logic and say, wait, it's not healthy to wear a mask while we're exercising. It's certainly not healthy to wear 2 masks while we're exercising, and especially when we're alone outdoors in nature. The lunacy of it all is where people have just put down their own ability to think and have some actual, thought. It just doesn't make sense, and we have to be those ones to start, well, and to get a little bit louder. I'm not talking like, Mad Max and telling you guys to go out and get in people's faces, but we need to start sharing stuff like this out, asking good questions, and not being afraid of the repercussions of other people, because this is our safety, it's our livelihood, it's our lives, and it's our children's lives and our children's lives. If we don't do something about it, then we're just as guilty as everyone else if we don't try, and we need to try. Um, let's see, back to the penalty box. I know, you're probably right. Dale, you are probably right. But I did want to correct something. I think I want to correct it. I'm not 100% sure. I never want to tell you inaccurate information, even though I did research it, and there is a source and it was verified. But then I heard today, which I'm not sure is right or wrong, that it may have been incorrect about the Wicked Witch of the White House passing out her book to the kids in the cages, because we're not, that's what they referred to it. Now it's kids in bubbles, plastic bubbles. But I'm not 100%, but I wanted to put it on the record in case it isn't true. Like, I want to make sure, because I never want to throw people under the bus that don't belong there, right? We don't need that happening. So that's possible. And I did want to say, though, did you guys see Mitt Romney get booed off stage in Utah, where he is the senator? Did you guys see that? Put an 8 in the chat box if you saw that. He got booed off stage. Like, they were booed. I'm talking about loud booing. And then he was, well, I know I'm not very popular with some of you, da, da, da. And they were just like, boo, boo. And then somebody else comes up and asks them to be nice. And he comes back to the stage. And I saw this on Dan Bongino, because this little article. And he says, look, I've been a Republican my whole life. And then Dan shows you the article, the clip. And again, you can see this on my Facebook page at the Step Up, Stand Out and Speak page, or history thing. The page apparently is not there, but it's a, what do you call it when you're saving it to your own videos, but you can have a public list. That's still there. I will get the page back up. I don't know what happened, but he said it was in 1994. There was him, in black and white on all of his things saying, I was an independent during the Reagan Bush administration. So here he can't even get his information straight. And if that's what now remember, this is a Republican, right? He's not a Republican, though. He's a rhino. And I know Retta had asked me about it the other day, but he's a rhino. And if you don't know what a rhino is, RINO, rhino is Republican in name only. That is Mitt. Okay. Mitt is a rhino. He is not a Republican. I mean, this is a guy that was walking down the streets with BLM during the summer. He's not a Republican. Anyway, and did you guys hear? I mean, this is sad, but I don't know if it has a deeper meaning. Hey, Alexis, welcome. But did you guys hear Bill Gates and Bill and Melinda Gates are getting divorced? I think the only reason I talk about that, because I don't usually talk about people getting divorced. I mean, I think it's horrible and it's private but when we look at what's been going on with Bill Gates and all of his rhetoric and his euthanasia and his, or his eugenics and his, this stuff about the vaccines, one can only wonder, and the stuff where he got kicked out of several countries because of the vaccinations that he was doing. They were actually said, and again, I will get more details on this. I've seen it in many different places, but never dove deep into it, where black girls were getting sterilized. And I say black girls because they were primarily black nations in Africa, and in the sections that he was in, which is what they highlighted as part of this information, is that it seemed that they kicked him out of the country and doing these vaccinations because he was sterilizing the young girls. Now, cognitive dissonance says to me there's no way any person is that horrible and horrific that they would literally do experiments on young black girls with vaccines. And yet we look at the Tuskegee experiment, and it hits me right in the face that our own nation, our own country, has admitted to doing this and paid out reparations to those people, which again they absolutely 100% should have, because that's something we did, our government right now did, and it affected those people, and that's horrific. So you have to wonder if maybe, I don't know if wonder is the correct word. You have to hope that if there is something of these despicable things going on, that maybe that she would have the moxie to say something, right? That she would step up, stand out, and speak, and divulge that to the world. So, okay. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing the Pinball Wizard. I think, like I said, barring some super amazing or thing that I absolutely have to talk about for the entire show tomorrow, but Pinball Wizard. So come tomorrow, telling with your list of pinballs that are in the air, they're in the machine going, they're bouncing around so many so fast that none of us can keep track of them. And I don't know if Dale, on your list, if you actually did ones that weren't about the government, but I mean about the federal government, but also ones like the $1 billion mask deal and things like that, because we know, first of all, we know that the Wicked Witch of the West and Mad Max are here in Cali, right? And so there's a direct tie with Nutty Newsome and the relationship, the family relationship that ties those people together. So those are pinballs too. I mean, they really are. And trying to distract from the recall effort or the this or the that. I mean, we're starting to see how absolutely planned out some of these things are, and how they absolutely suppress other things. Like I said, here I haven't heard anything about Captain Cuomo for a while, right? I mean, I haven't heard anything. And what that includes the 9 girls that I know of that came forward. But what about the nursing home deaths? I mean, have we forgotten that? Because it's like the girls like kind of suppressed the nursing home deaths, but the man pretty much single-handedly wiped out a lot of people. And he has zero excuse because he had the Comfort ship there, and he had the Javits Center, and he didn't even use the Comfort at all. And Javits Center, I think, had very, very few things. So there's zero excuse. So, I mean, there's got to be some charges coming. I mean, on multiple fronts for that guy. So, how is it? Like I said, the pinballs keep coming, and they're in, you see the states. And then you did see in Michigan, right? That the court said that it was illegal what they did in Michigan, and that they were not allowed to change the voting rules the way they did. So there's some of the stuff is starting to open up and unravel for them, but open up for the rest of the world to see the truth about some of the things that are happening, like things that we don't want to believe are true, things like the Tuskegee experiment. Like I said, I think that's going to be my go-to example, because I'm telling you right now, I still can't believe it. I mean, I believe it, and it's so horrific that I can't process it. But if you put another situation right in front of me right now and said the same thing was happening, it would be hard if I hadn't been doing research and stuff like on some of the things that are going on right now. Because again, nobody wants this to be true. We know that there's bad people in the world, but they're not here. I think everybody wants to believe that. There's bad people in the world, but they're not in my country. If you saw that mask video that I sent out, that was Australia, Italy, Denmark, I'm trying to remember, the UK, where they're beating their citizens with sticks because they're not wearing masks. Now, granted, there's only little pieces of it there, and they could have been more angry, but I know I saw the one of the Australian woman who's pregnant, and they were arresting her for posting something, and they said she was inciting violence. She said, "I didn't incite any violence. I just said I was going to go to the protest," or something, or that kind of like what I'm saying here. We got to step up, stand out, and speak. It's not inciting violence. It's saying we need to use our voices. We have to stop being silent. That our silence is deafening, right? That silence is allowing this behavior to continue. And if that gentleman, I already Peter, what is it? Peter Buxton, Buxtun. If Peter had not had the courage to continue going, who knows how long that experiment would have went. How disgusting and horrific is that? I mean, we have to stop being silent. We have to continue to step up, stand out, and speak. With some of them, there are so many sub pinballs that go along with it, not listed on my list, right, Dale? But that's if we start bringing it up, maybe we can assign one person to each pinball, and we can keep up and keep on, right? It's happening, right? Not, I believe it's the shots. It's oh, the I believe that I think we're going to find out a lot more stuff, especially when you see what's in those. There's just so much. It's hard to keep track. It's really hard. But I am so blessed that you guys are here. Does anybody have any questions? We got about 5 more minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Hey, Alexis, it's so good to see you here. And yes, you're right. So from now on, flip-flopping, you know who is Triple F. We're going to call him Triple F so I can keep out of the schnitzel box, okay? Because, I'm working on it. A couple of my friends that say way less than I do just got out of they got out of the schnitzel box. Just listening in the background. Well, it's so good to see you. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys being here again. Tomorrow we're going to be, it's the Pinball Wizard. Hopefully you guys will, again, unless something, something crazy unveils tomorrow, that's what we're going to be doing is the Pinball Wizard. Be sure to share it out. Let people know. Let's continue to spread the word. Let's continue to have intelligent and good conversations and continue to learn and research some of the stuff that's going on so we aren't, we don't get blindsided and that we never let a Tuskegee experiment happen again. Because I don't care what nationality, what race, if someone told me this was happening to around the world somewhere, I would be mortified. We need to be mortified. We need to be the country with a conscience. We need to be the ones that are willing to go to the defense of others. That's what's made our nation great. And we need to have that we need that leadership again. And unfortunately, we don't have it right now. I mean, when EO Joe says that the unbelievable things that are happening, I don't want to bring them up because that will definitely put me in the schnitzel box. When those people are their leader is decimating their own people, then and our leader says that's just like a cultural difference. That is a cop out and a disgusting. It's just disgusting. Here's another one for you: the USS Liberty incident. 50 years later, oh, you know what? I'm gonna click on that one. Let me see if I can do that. Oh, it won't let me. Let's see. I'll have to do it afterwards, I guess. I have not mastered how to work that, but I will check that out. Thank you so much. You have a great show that is needed in this day and time. Thank you so much, Dale. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys and your high five awards. I appreciate that you guys come and show up every day. Please let me know if there's some other topics you guys want to chat about. And thank you, Dale, for providing us with the pinball wizard list for tomorrow night's broadcast. And again, I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. I look forward to helping you. And until next time, I want to remind you, like I always do, to dream it, believe it, and achieve it. Ciao.